Cristy with Aerybeth Sewing here, and today we're going to make this really cute Valentine's envelope. Really simple, really easy, but it's a great project to reinforce some of your skills or to learn those skills. Some of the skills on this, of course, is learning to sew in wonderfully straight lines all the way around, getting those corners perfect. Okay, and the other skill, sewing a button on with your sewing machine, not even by hand, and creating the buttonholes. Okay, I do have a tutorial for that on my YouTube page. You're welcome to view that, and it gives a little bit more detail than what I'm going to go with on this video, because I've already done that. I will lightly go over it, but isn't that cute? You can make it out of birthday fabric, you can make it out of Easter fabric, you can make it out of Christmas fabric, and it's completely lined. Cute, completely lined, and you could do solid for the inside, print for the outside. You can make it bigger sizes. You can curve the one actually, and I've got the pattern around here somewhere. The one we're actually going to do today is going to be, instead of the pointy, it's going to be more of a curved top. Okay, so I'm going to get with it and show you what the tools you're going to need. About a quarter of a yard of 2 different fabrics would be a great place to start, but let's get busy. Okay, so what we have here is I have just a little swatch of fabric. Here's the size of a piece of computer paper, so our envelope is going to be much smaller than that. So that's how much fabric you need. But if you get a quarter yard of fabric, that should be plenty of 2 different fabrics. You need fabric for the inside and fabric for the outside, and you're going to have to determine that. Okay, so what you're going to need is, we may need some marking tools, and these are a couple different pens. This one disappears, and this one goes away with water. Same with this one. And then there's a blue one here that actually is heat erasable, so with your iron. I use a little pokey stick or a chopstick. I use that for poking out corners to get them sharp. And then you'll need your buttonhole foot and your button foot. Okay, those 2 right there. Scissors here, paper scissors, and then I've got a ruler to help me make some straight lines and some pins. Alright, so those are our tools that we're going to need. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started and make the pattern piece. Okay, so the pattern piece right here, I'm going to fold it in about what I think it, I'm going to fold it in probably about 2 inches, maybe 2.5. Okay, about 2.5 inches. Okay, it doesn't have to be exact. Just kind of think about what size envelope you want to make. And then I'll make sure it's folded down the same all the way down. Okay. All right, then I'm going to press that down with my finger really well. Let's see if it'll tear. Right. Okay. All right. All right, so now I've got this strip right here. That's about 5 3/4. Okay, so almost 6. So again, don't stress out about the size. You make it the size you want it to be. All right, so I'm going to fold it up and kind of make my envelope. See how you can fold it and then unfold it, and see, that's just a little lip and looks like a little envelope now, right? Okay, so I don't want it to be that high, so I'm going to fold it back down and fold it, see, about that high. Let's see if that's too little. Okay, that's a little bit too little, so I'm going to fold it in between there. Let's see. Okay, if that's good. So you just kind of play around with it and get your folds right. Okay. Alright, so now I have this little folded flap right here. Alright, now that I have what my envelope needs to look like, I'm going to fold this in half. Get those edges nice together. Okay, so there's the middle. And I want to curve this edge so you kind of see where it's going to be. And I'm just going to take my scissors. You can draw a line too if you want to. You could take it and say, okay, I want my, or you even do a edge of a plate. You can kind of go, I want to be like curved like that. Okay, You can draw it, you can put a plate against it. Again, this is great for kids learning how to visualize things to sew. Look at that. So there is that little curved edge there. All right, so let's take a look at that. So now I'm going to fold it up and fold it down, and then I've got my little curved envelope edge. Okay, I think there's another one I've done earlier. Let's see if it's, see, this one is a little bit flatter, so you could do a flat edge or the curved edge. Look at that, different ones. Okay, all right. Now I have my fabric, and I'm putting right sides together. Okay, now if you notice, these hearts are going one direction, so you're going to have to decide on which fabric you want for the inside and which you want for the outside. So say that I want my hearts, these right here, the black and the hearts, to be on the outside. If I put my envelope this way, it's called directional print, and fold it down, you see the hearts, they are upside down. So I'm going to flip this way. Okay, it looks like my hearts are upside down, but when I flip this, the hearts are not upside down. Now, with other envelopes, okay, your right side, where you write the address, would be always on this side. But the way we do things, look at this, that is kind of like the right side. We're not dealing with the back of it. This is the side that's the pretty side that we're going to use a lot. So we want this to be right side. You see the missu is right side up there, okay? And then that's upside down, but I'm not worried about that because that's the side people are going to look at because it's got the cute little button on it. All right, so this is the way I want to pin my fabric. So you make sure, line it up, make sure it's like you like it, okay? I'm going to flip this over so I can make sure that when I put my pattern on, I'm lining it up with the lines. And then I'll have a heart like right in the middle. That's what I want to do. So it'll be a little bit over the line on each side. There we go. It doesn't matter about the bottom because the bottom polka dotted. All right, so I'm going to pin this near the edge all the way around. And I want to, when I'm pinning, I go in just a little bit, tiny bit, and then I bend it back up. So I'll go ahead and pin that. And this is good for kids to learn how to do this. I have now cut everything out, all right, and now I'm going to sew around this, but I need to leave an opening. All right, so I can use a straight edge on some of these edges. You can use the edge of your presser foot for certain. It's wonderful. But if you have a beginner sewer or you want to be more precise, you can draw yourself some sewing lines, okay? Now, where do I want the opening to be? Okay, so when I fold this, it'll be this way after I sew it. This way and this way, okay? I want the opening not to show, so I'm going to put it behind this piece right here. So it would be on the back of this. So on the top of the straight edge, about a 2 or 3 inch opening right here. All right, so now I'm going to pin this again. Some people don't like sewing over pins. For children, I would take out the pins. If you're scared you might hit one, take them out. But you can also sew over them if you put them like this, one on one side with the head sticking out over here so you can go over it. You just have to be careful. So I'm just going to put those there and around and around. All right, so I'm going to leave it opening right here. So I'm going to start at the bottom line I made, back stitch, get to the end, the needle's in, pick it up, pivot, put your presser foot back down, get to the end, the needle's in, or roll it in, pick it up, pivot, put your presser foot back down, go around the curve real slow. If you have to, go a couple stitches, with the needle in, pick up your presser foot gently and just kind of tilt it, go again, pick it up, and you can kind of move your presser foot as you're going. So just be careful, don't pick up your presser foot if your needle's not in. Keep moving around, get to the very end, that line, stop, back stitch, pick up your presser foot and pull it out and cut your threads. I am on a stitch 1, which is your straight stitch, and I'm on a stitch length of a 3. Now I left it in the middle, so I'm not even worried about the bottom number. This gives you a straight stitch, and I like going up from 2.5 because for a beginner, if you mess up, it's easier to seam rip. So I'm going to put my needle down into the line that I have made, and then I'm going to go ahead and back stitch. If you have a sewing machine that you push the back stitch on, go ahead and push it and hit your pedal, and then I'm going to sew all the way down, going over those pins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go real slow around this circle. So I'm going to, and you can go real slow, and if it gets really tight, just pick up your presser foot just gently and just move it just a little bit. Don't pick up your presser foot unless your needle's in. And I got off my line just a little bit, but don't worry. You can also use your presser foot as a guide to go around your fabric, keeping it on the edge. As long as you see a little bit of fabric poking out, you're good. Okay. Alright, I'm keeping going all the way around. Don't push or pull your fabric. The feed dogs underneath here, they pull it in for you. Alright, I'm going to stop at the first line I made. And I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to back stitch. And then go back forward. And then I'm going to needle up, or roll your needle up. Pick up your presser foot and pull it out. Cut your threads off long. Don't cut them off short. You'll have to rethread. Paper scissors here. Alright. And then tuck your thread back between the little feet to the back. So we're going to go ahead and take out all of our pins. And cut off any threads. Let's get all those off. Be careful, don't cut your fabric. Alright, so now, these little corners down here, I trim them. So I put my finger over the corner and I cut off the point. You don't want to cut you don't want to accidentally cut your seam. So I've cut those so they'll poke out better. And then you got a curve here. So I'm just going to give it a little, anytime you have a corner or a curve, you want to clip your curve so it'll lay flat better. Just don't cut your seam. And you'll have to go back and sew it again, but that's okay if you have to. Alright, there's all my little curves. Alright, so now I'll reach in, turn it right side out. Okay, so now we're going to press this down, and if you have little edges, you can still take that pokey stick and make sure those are really flat and nice. You can steam it if you want to, just be careful. Just your opening right here. Get that real flat. Alright, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold this up to where I want it. If you sewed it a little diagonal, it may look a little diagonal at the bottom. That's okay. Alright, oh, isn't that cute? There's your little envelope. Okay, so at this point you can decide, do I want it this way or do I want it this way? So both of those are super cute. Okay, so I think I'm going to do mine with the heart on the outside. Go ahead and press it down. Alright, so now I'm going to decide where I want my button. So I have this little heart button, And you can fold this in half and mark the center, or you can eyeball it and just say, I like that right there. That's where I want it. So what I do is I lay the button down and I mark the sides. You mark the sides, the top, wherever you want to. There's where my button's going to be. So let me see if I can show you that. See that little round circle? So I've kind of outlined it. Now I want the buttonhole to go sideways, because what I want is if it were up and down and the button were in the middle, it could pull up so the button would move positions. If it's in sideways, it's going to stay right there. Okay, so now that I have where my buttonhole is going to be, I'm going to poke a hole right in the center. Okay, let's see if I can show you that. Right in the center, and then I'm going to pick this first layer up, this first one, and bend it backwards, and I'm going to make a little mark where that pin went in, and y'all see that right there. That's where the button's going to go. Okay, so I've got to do this before I sew the sides on, because you can't sew the button all the way through. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my sewing machine now, and we're going to do the button and the buttonhole. I have a video on the button and buttonholes, so I probably won't spend as much time with it, but I am going to show you. This is your buttonhole foot, and if you have a Brother machine, it has 2 notches on it and then a place to put the button in the back. Okay, so the very first thing we did was we marked where we wanted the buttonhole. There's always a place, a very specific place where you want the buttonhole. Okay, so we've done that. Okay, now we're going to look at our machine. Let me tilt this way a little bit. Okay, so I am going to use, let's use a 35. So I'm going to use a 35. So I'm going to change this. And the settings are preset, so you don't have to do anything to these settings. Now I'm on a 35. I'm going to put the button on the back of my sewing machine. There's a little black button on the back, and make the foot come off. And then this one's going to go under, but you may have to lift your presser foot, just your lever a little bit more, and then it will snap into that little bar. Okay, so we've marked our where our button's going to be. We've chosen our buttonhole. We've put our foot on with the button in the back, and we're lowering this lever, and it looks like a little buttonhole on it. And then buttonholes go backwards, so you line up that little mark you made in the little window. And once you've lined it up, and you can see it in there, you make sure the side over here is straight and not like twisted. Okay, buttonhole lever down, buttonhole chosen, button in the back. If you don't put the button in the back, your button could be like teeny tiny or huge, depending on if you have it open. Alright, so I'm going to hit my pedal, and after I go a couple stitches, I cut off my thread. Alright, now lift it up, and pull it out. And there is your buttonhole. And we're going to fold it in half. I'm going to make a little clip right in the center of that buttonhole. Okay, just got a little hole now. And then I'm going to put my scissors in. Cut a little bit that way. Cut a little bit that way. There's your buttonhole, and then you can take the button out and you can test it out. Make sure it works. Alright, now I'm going to put my lever back up, take the foot off, and now I'm going to put on this blue tip foot. Make sure you don't put your thread into the little bar with it. And lower that back down. Okay? Now, on the back of your sewing machine, there's a little slide, and we're going to turn off the feed dogs. Alright, so I marked where I needed my button. Again, I put my thread underneath to the back. Make sure that went in. Okay. And then I'm going to put that going that way. Now, you need to think about this too. All right, so I want the heart going that way. So I need to make sure that's how I want it. So it's actually going to be upside down if I put it like this. So it'll feel weird, but we tested it out, make sure it's going the right way. And I put the 2 holes right between the blue teeth. You see that? All right. Now, I am not for certain that it is going to. Now, I'm not for certain that it's going to not hit the plastic. So I'm going to make sure. We're going to turn it onto a 4. You can see that? That is your zigzag. From here. And I'm going to go up to a 4.5. Now I'm going to roll it down gently. And then I'm going to roll it down. If it starts to hit the plastic, I'll roll it back up. So both of those are good. And then I can get my bit off. Needle up, presser foot up, cut your threads off. Don't accidentally cut your fabric. And then we're going to take the foot back off and put your regular presser foot back on. And then turn your feed dogs back on. The feed dogs are underneath your presser foot, and then when you roll them around, it pulls the fabric in. If you have the button, you don't want it to roll forward and bring the button in because you don't want it to move. All right, now last step. We're going to take our straight pins. Okay, so I'm going to take my straight pins. And I'm going to put the sides together. And I'm going to pin those sides. And our opening is on one of these sides. But guess what? Now we're going to close it up when we sew it closed. Alright, so now we're going to start on here. We're going to back stitch back on the red just one stitch. We're going to go to the corner. We're going to sew across the bottom and then back up to the other side and then back stitch and make sure we get just in the red. We don't want any floppy sides. A stitch of a 1 with a straight stitch and a length of 3. Make sure your sides are together. Start on that black fabric. I'm going to roll it down. I'm going to go 1 forward and then go back stitch back into the red. There we go. I'm going to pivot. And I try to get right in that corner so when I turn I can pivot back up. And back stitch, needle up, cut off my threads here. Press your foot up. Take out your pins. Your stray threads hanging out. Pull those off. And you have just created yourself a cute little Valentine envelope. Try it out. that adorable? And then the purple will fade away with time, or you could kind of wash it off too. And then there is your little envelope.